There's some, just because you brought up prisons, this is a pivot here, but there's some creepy stuff going on in terms of the labor that they're getting from prisoners.
Oh, fuck yeah. We were just talking about that with the fires. That they were paying those guys $1 a day to risk their life in the Santa Barbara fires. Fuck, man.
How is that allowed?
Hey, maybe give me a month off, or a year off or whatever. Maybe if you're not a dangerous criminal, like maybe you did something stupid, some petty theft or something like that. And, look, I'll go out there and fight the fire, but you gotta give me some sort of a break off my sentence. Nope, we're gonna give you $1 a day.
So they make them do it, and then they still have the normal sentence? They don't even reduce it or anything?
I don't know. I wish I did. I mean, I'm sure good behavior reduces sentences. I'm sure that probably does something. But the idea that they could pay you $1 a day to fight a fire is fucking crazy. Well, or $1 an hour or whatever the fuck the actual number was.
The way we do prisons in general in the U.S. is really weird because I feel like there's like the Norwegian way of doing stuff and the Scandinavian way of doing stuff where they gear everything towards rehabilitation to get them back into society and functioning. And in the U.S., I feel like we don't gear it towards rehabilitation. We gear it towards punishment. We're going to punish you.
Yeah.
And, I think there are fair critiques of the Norwegian system, like, in Scandinavia. Who's the guy? Anders Breivik. He killed all these, and then he was complaining because he's like, I only have a PS2 and you guys need to give me like a newer video game system. So you can look at that and go, listen, man, you guys are being too fucking liberal. Fuck that guy. He had like 2 rooms that were his cell and he could walk in a fucking courtyard and shit. So I think there are genuine criticisms of that. But at the same time, what's fascinating is they have a significantly lower recidivism rate than we do. Right. So here, if you go to prison, it's very likely that you're going to end up back in prison. In those places, if you go to prison, especially if it's like a lower level crime, they rehabilitate you and you get out and you're a functioning member of society.
Yeah.
So we can learn something from them. In my mind, I think there should be some sort of a middle ground. Like, I think prison should be used. Yes, in some instances, people need fucking punishment. In some instances, of course. But we need to mix that in many instances with a healthy dose of rehabilitation as well. So we are, I don't know, functioning like an actual society as opposed to jailing more people in this country than any other country in the world.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that punishment by itself helps anybody. I mean, if you take a guy and you lock him in a cell and he's in that little tiny cell until his body stops working and he dies, is that helping anybody? I mean, who is that helping?
So are there some situations? So for me, I feel like there are some situations where I get the idea of like life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I get it too.
Yeah.
I get it too. But I mean, why? Look at a Ted Bundy character, someone along those lines, just indefensible, right? Some serial killer, psychopath. What do? Fucking kill him. Just
I was going to ask you, how do you feel about the death penalty? But now I know.
Kill him. Kill him. Just come on, man. There's not enough time in the world to fix Ed Gein or who was the fucking clown? William Gacy, the clown guy who killed all those kids and buried them in his backyard.
Yeah, there are some people.
Is that Cleveland? Somewhere in Ohio? It's your place, buddy.
There are some people who are just. The point you're making is there are some people who are too far gone.
When I say your place, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Jamie. For people who are just listening, like, why is he fucking with Kyle and saying he's involved with the clown? It's just in Ohio. It might not have even been Ohio. It might have been Pittsburgh, somewhere dark and cloudy.
So the point you're making is that there are people who are too far gone.
Yes.
And I agree with that 100%.
I think so.
But my whole thing on the death penalty is I've always thought the idea of it in principle is something I get. Like, you could point out all those people who did those horrific things and like there's no hope of them rehabilitating and they're total monsters. And I say, philosophically, I have no problem getting rid of those people because you're just eliminating a problem.
Right.
But in my mind, the reason why I'm not in favor of the death penalty is because 4% of the time we get the wrong people.
Right.
So if you have a system where you're guaranteed to kill the wrong people some percentage of the time, then what we're saying is, well, we're going to let the state murder people 4% of the time, and that's something I just can't have my tax dollars going towards. You know what I mean?
I agree with you 100%, but is it any better to have those people locked up in a cage for the rest of their life until their body stops working?
Well, I guess the idea is if you have them locked up and you have people like the Innocence Project working on trying to overturn cases where there was a wrong conviction, that eventually you can right the wrong of getting those wrong people 4% of the time. But it's finite if you say, no, we're gonna put you on death row and you're going to die in 8 years or whatever it is, then, sometimes you can't finish the case in time to overturn it. And that's my whole thing about the death. Like, I agree philosophically, and that's something many people to my left have come after me for and said, no, you're wrong. You should be against the death penalty in principle. But I say, no, I get it theoretically and philosophically, but it's just that when you actually implement it, there are pragmatic problems, like you're going to kill the wrong fucking people, and I'm not okay with that. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know if it's better to kill the wrong people or to keep the wrong people locked in a cage suffering for the rest of their life. Where did William Gacy live?
John Wayne Gacy was Chicago.
Chicago.
His middle name was Wayne? John Wayne?
Yeah, John Wayne Gacy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Why did I say it was William Gacy? I'm thinking William Macy, the guy from Shameless. I'm all fucked up.
Haven't seen the show.
Yeah, well, we were talking about something before the podcast, and I think this is really the future, whether it's in our lifetimes or our children's lifetimes. But I think that they're going to be able to read minds, and I think we're not far away from that. We're going to really be able to know the actual contents of your thoughts, whether or not you really did murder a bunch of kids and bury them in your backyard. We're going to know. And until then, we're dealing with a bunch of really big fucking problems. One of the biggest problems is people's memories. People's memories are so bad. They're so bad. So when you have eyewitness testimony and you can convict people wrongly, which happens every day, and they think they're right. They think they really do believe they're right. They really believe it. That's a fucking problem, man. That's just a giant problem, is the human memory is incredibly flawed. And when someone's life is on the line and, you know, you're going to convict a guy who didn't do anything, he just looks kind of like what you remember this person who murdered that guy looks like.
Well, that's where a lot of the things get overturned, is because they have DNA evidence that overrides whatever the testimony was of the people at the time. And speaking of technology advancing, there's many scary aspects to it, but you know, the elephant in the room to me is the fact that look at what the NSA is already doing.
Yeah.
They're already spying on absolutely everybody in the country. They collect all of our metadata and store it at some multi-billion-dollar facility in Utah. And then, like, there's no doubt that all this technology is going to be used against us. You know what I mean?
Well, it certainly can be if they choose to. Like if you become a guy like like Julian Assange or anyone who leaks something, and then they go, "Hey, let's go pull up Kyle's text message records." Oh, look, he likes cross-dressing and fucking, you know,
For the record,
shit
I
in
don't.
people's mouths. Whatever it is. I mean, they can, and then they could leak that to whatever media people that they're in bed with. There's just a lot of shit that they can get away with.
Well,